this module 2. Yes, man. Just like we did chemistry unit 2. Mhm. Because the thing is, no, 2024 and 2023 covers a large chunk of the syllabus. Because notice that these are completely different topics. So we're covering a wide range of the syllabus by understanding and going through these papers. Alright? So we just cover 2019 to cover the last part of the syllabus, the last coverage in the morning, and that would be good. So module 2 here for 2023 paper speaks now to number 2. Variation refers to differences in a particular trait between individuals within a species caused by genetic and environmental factors. The first question calls us to define the term species according to the biological species concept. From CSEC, we must know this definition. What is a species? Or what are species? That is the perfect answer. There's absolutely nothing that needs to be taken away or added to that answer. Beautiful response. Close related, common ancestry, possible to interbreed to provide fertile offspring. That is it. Nothing else to be added. Alright? Lovely response. Part 2 states 2 reasons why genetic variation is important to a species. 2 reasons. I already have mine too. Okay. Anything else? Evolution. Anything else? My responses are adaptation, evolution, but diversity can work. I would write a sentence to basically explain what I mean by that. Let me check the chat to see if anybody is responding to this because the chat was empty. Well, I guess it's still empty. Alright. So we have these here. Let's move on. Describe 3 types of natural selection which can occur in a population. 3 kinds of natural selection. Let's go. Well, we know the 3 kinds. The first kind is what? Directional. Next one, disruptive and stabilizing. Lovely. Right? So directional is what? Directional we favor one extreme. Not true. Haven't done biology in how much in around 2 years now, but I still remember this is the best topic ever. Disruptive. Lovely. So we favor both extremes. Right? And stabilizing, the average, right? Or we would use the word intermediate. Intermediate. So average or intermediate. Alright, we know things. We must be able to describe those 3. Right? Must be able. So examples for stabilizing, we know that we have the human birth weight. Human birth weight is stabilizing. Right? So we could look at that. Human birth rate tends to favor the intermediate. For directional, we could look at antibiotic resistance. Right? For disruptive, we could look at the beak size in the Galapagos finches. Right? Could think about many examples here. Right? So let's have a go. If the question never asks you examples, but suppose tomorrow them ask you examples. Right? That's why I keep on adding more information that we need to answer the question. Table 1 shows the percentage mortality of human babies with respect to birth weight. Alright? Is this okay? So we're seeing it. We're seeing what's happening here. What type of natural selection is this? We're seeing it? Stabilizing. Right? You know why? Because if the baby is underweight, it has a high mortality rate, and if it is overweight, it has a high mortality rate. So it is better around this range. This range is the ideal range. It favors the intermediate. Stabilizing. Would be stabilizing. It wouldn't be directional. It would be stabilizing because we favor the middle. It would be. hmm So you just mixed up our. That's fine. All right. So as long as we understand the concept, we're seeing that now. On the grid, wow, a graph. But we should be able to show a line graph of that, right? Because the line graph would basically be something like that. Not true. Not true. That would be it. Would stabilize in the middle region. hmm And then we know that disruptive would be like the hump of a camel that would favor both extremes. And then directional would be sloped to one side. Alright? So you guys need to know the graphs as well, alright? So this graph is just asking you to show a simple bell curve. That's all it would show, a bell curve. Done. Alright? So that is simple there. We're now alright, so identify the type of natural selection shown in the graph that will be intermediate and give two reasons for your answer. So, uh, what reasons, right? What are the things that jump out to us? Why would it be intermediate? Why would it be intermediate? So, not only must we show the bell curve, but we must give two reasons why we choose intermediate to be the type of natural selection occurring here. We'll choose so because the intermediate weight, right, or the middle, right, or the median weight of the birth weights, right, will provide offsprings that have the lowest mortality rate, right? So we can see that the species, right? I mean, it's not necessarily the species choosing; it's really biology, right? But we can see that that is being selected out than other extremes, and that is the definition of the stabilizing selection, right? Where we select specifically for intermediate traits and we do not favor the extreme. We can see that the extreme is not favored because at both extremes we have higher mortality rates, right? And we can also give a reason based on the shape of the curve being a bell curve, right? So we could look at these different things. We must be able to explain these things, all right? It shouldn't be much of a problem, right? So you just draw your graph and you give the explanation for what kind of curve that is. So we know we're going to have a bell curve. The least I can do with the graphs is explain what the graph would look like. Alright, so I think we're on to module 3 now. Is it module 3? No? Okay, we have this question here before we move on to that. Alright, Caribbean anomalies are anoles rather. Is anoles or anole? Anole? I don't know. Caribbean A-word are groups of lizards, right? From that specific genus, right? Anolis. So there are about 154 species in the Caribbean. They are the descendants rather of a few colonizing species from South America that arrived over 40 million years ago in Hispaniola or Cuba. They spread throughout the Caribbean, with each island having species unique to the island as well as different species within the islands. Mhm. Different. different members of these species may be found in different habitats on the island. For example, twigs, grassy areas, broad surfaces on the ground, or tree trunks. So we're seeing we have different terrestrial and arboreal habitats, right? The male member of each species have different types of duals, which are the colored flaps, right? So the lizard is just there and showing the colored flaps. There are different types of that, right? And that is used to court females. Speciation accounts for the huge diversity in these lizards in the Caribbean. Identify two isolation mechanisms or isolating mechanisms and two types of speciation which result in a number of species of these lizards. We know the isolation mechanisms, right? We have temporal, we have what mechanical, what else we have? What are the isolation mechanisms? Behavioral, lovely. And it gives allopatric and sympatric speciation, right? So we should remember those. What is allopatric speciation? What is allopatric speciation? Nobody or anyone at all? Lovely, beautiful. And sympatric would mean the same. So it's a sim means in the same place. Allo means different. Just like how we have the enzyme with the allosteric side. Different. Right? So allopatric, allosteric, same thing, different, right? So allopatric speciation speaks to different geographical areas, right? So what we're seeing here is that the lizards would have experienced allopatric speciation because they're located in different islands, right? Over different islands over the 40 million years they have been in the Caribbean, all right? We're seeing that they're exposed to different environments there as well, so being in different habitats. So we must be able to analyze the work, right? We never do come to this for nothing, right? We must be able to analyze the piece of work and use our biological knowledge, the use of knowledge, right, to get our answers. So we're seeing of allopathic speciation, right? Different habitats, different environments, right? And then sympatric speciation will occur due to behavioral isolation mechanisms because we know that no, the more colorful the dewlaps rather, right, on the lizards, right, the more likely they are to mate. So could see some behavioral isolation mechanisms there could be a case, right? So looking at that, so looking at competition there. hmm they could have also interbred with other species on other islands as well, right? Leading to mechanical species, mechanical isolation, right? Which is basically reproductive isolation. They have bred and interbred for a large part of the 40 million years to the point where they are now completely different species. They are no longer able to interbreed because of their allopatric speciation and possibly sympatric speciation, right? We need to be able to analyze the paragraphs and use our understanding of isolation mechanisms and speciation to come to responses. All right. I think I've gotten a bit taken away here for this question, but that is what we must do. So we must be able to look at different things here and identify different kinds of speciation and isolation mechanisms. All right. But discuss how two isolating mechanisms resulted in the speciation of the lizards which arrived in Hispaniola or Cuba. You must present your response in complete paragraphs. Right? So in the first one, we're just asked to identify, right? Now, in the next part of the question, we're asked to discuss, right? Incomplete paragraphs. So if we see allopathic speciation, we have to discuss that. The lizards have been living on two different islands for over 40 million years. Explain how they will interact with local species and how we can develop mechanical isolation mechanisms, right? Or if they exist on the same island, we can have varying species on the same island as well, as stated in the paragraph. So that is sympatric speciation, most likely due to behavioral isolation mechanisms. All right, we need to be able to discuss. Are you guys following? Hopefully, I'm not just talking for nothing, Hopefully, yeah. So as long as we're getting something from me discussing what we write for this response, right? So you need to take out those points and use them to create and flesh out your paragraphs. Remember, in biology, we're using key terms. Try to remember your key terms. Try to write in complete sentences and paragraphs. All right. So I guess this is a 9 mark question, or is it 5 mark? 12 mark possibly. This is a 12 mark. Oh, eight. 8 marks for that. So discussing isolation mechanisms and discussing a speciation. Alright? For 8 marks. That should be fine.